We are John and Ellie, the Barefoot Doctors. Join us on this new chapter on our brand new Leopard 45 Catamaran as we unearth the jewels of the Med. And the world. Because life is better barefoot.
So we arrived in the beautiful Corsica in the town of Calvi in the north end.
It's already afternoon and we're pretty tired from the sailing, but still, we dinghy into town to scope out Calvi and get a lay of the land before we do our full tour tomorrow.
And we found in our travels that one of the best ways to check out the best things to see is to visit the Tourist Information Office. You can find out where the best places are to visit and where the boat trips take the normal tourists, and then you can obviously go there in your own boat.
It's for us. How lovely. Oh, do they smell? Oh, they smell like flowers. Oh, how delightful. Isn't that just lovely? See, that's what beautiful men do. Give ladies flowers. What did you buy me?
So what's another present?
What?
Ta-da! Plastic clips for the tablecloth. Isn't that romantic?
What every woman would want.
Every captain's woman.
Oh, good thinking.
So I got 8.
Great.
We heard very little about Calvi, but it certainly is shaping up to be one of those beautiful places that you just stumble across. And it was so picturesque. The marina was gorgeous. Everywhere you look, it was picture postcard. And there was beautiful little shops and boutiques, so different and so unique. So far we've only been here an afternoon and I'm in love with this place already. I think we might have found one of the jewels of the Med. And at the end of the day, a must for anyone visiting Calvi is to go and have a look at Sunset Point. Very romantic.
Okay, so today we are going to Calvi, which has got a big citadel, castle that fortified the place for many centuries. And there's a market, we believe. There's also some churches, governor's house, and a few other interesting shops. So it's a very popular place, so let's go and see what it's all about.
Okay, let's go.
And again, as I always say, if you want to get to the good stuff, you've got to be prepared to go up. And up again.
And finally, after all that hiking, we make it within the walls of the citadel. Ah, how nice it is to be in here.
And even when you think you're at the top, you find there's still more steps to go. And at the top of the citadel, there is a beautiful cathedral. The trek up all the stairs turns out to be well worth it, as we discovered so many amazing things, including the Messiah. Oh, no wait, that's just David.
There she is.
Right where she should be. And it's always nice when you can actually see your boat at anchor, because then you're kind of reassured that it's not dragging or anything like that. So when you go for walks, it's always nice to go to a high point and look back and see, oh, the boat's okay. So, okay, let's go.
Wow, when you look around, everywhere is a postcard. It's just beautiful. Whew. The citadel of Calvi really is a special place, and we loved our visit here. And this little restaurant, cafe, would have to be one of our favourite spots. Breathtaking views over the Gulf of Calvi and the marina. And the mountains. And then it was time to return to Expedition Barefoot.
Yes, and we went right up there. Right up there. 5 foot.
And now it's time to pick up the anchor and change locations and anchor nearby. Yeah, there's a cute little anchorage just over here. So we're going to drop the pick over there where the other boats are.
It is good practice to check the anchor if you possibly can. So here I am diving down to check out the anchor in about 15 meters of depth. All looks good and we're set for another night.
And of course, we never miss an opportunity to take a ride into a beautiful beach with a glass of wine and a wonderful platter and watch the sunset together.
Cheers to another beautiful sunset as we adventure through the Med.
All together now? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie.
And as the day becomes night, we get ready for another safety briefing from our captain right before our next passage.
So if there's a strong wind, the mountain will just block it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anchorages have always got areas where the wind will be, you'll be protected from the wind in certain angles, but you know, obviously there's mountains over there, so wind's coming from those directions, we're going to be calmer.
Yeah.
And there's be less wind. There won't be no wind because the wind will come over the mountains and still blow, but it'll be certainly less. Hopefully the wind will blow up over the top of the mountains and you'll be below it, and your wind strength will be much less. But most anchorages will have a direction that they're not protected from. So obviously out to the sea that way is open, so that's to the north. So only northerly gales will be copping the full brunt of both the wind and the waves. So the waves will come through, build up as the strong winds persist and go on for longer. But when the wind's blowing over the land or from your area of protection, you have nice flat water. So an anchor will pull out of its holding, or the sand or the mud, if it's being jerked. And if you're both in a strong wind pulling your anchor tight plus being jerked up with waves, you can see how that regular jerking is likely to yank it out.
And it won't dig back in because it's being constantly jerked.
Depends. I mean, if you're lucky it will. You hope that it will, and the better anchors will dig in sometimes, but it also depends how fast you're going backwards. If you're going backwards too fast, it won't have a chance to dig in. So when you were asking about, well, how strong is a strong wind, it really does depend on how much protection you have in the bay that you're in. So when you're looking at weather forecasts, if you know there's a big blow coming, you've really got to move yourself to a bay that's got good protection, or that's the best protection in the areas that are accessible to you at the time. 25 to 30 knots, you start to get into strong winds.
So what are your degrees of wind that you would say? So
in terms of grading the winds, there's a Beaufort scale. Have you heard of the Beaufort scale? No. So the Beaufort scale talks about forces. If you read the documents about the Beaufort scale, you can actually fairly accurately judge the wind strength based on the waves and the white horses and the features on the water. So you know, if you're looking at waves where there's frequent white horses, you know, your wind strength is going to be 20 to 25 knots. But if there's only a few white horses, it's 15 to 20 knots, assuming no tidal effects or things like that. Once it gets into like force 7 or so, you start getting streaks of white water. The wind is so strong, it's blowing white froth in lines down the water. In open oceans, you start at higher speeds, you start getting the waves actually breaching, like crashing like surf waves.
Really?
Safety briefing over, it's time to leave Calvi and head east as the winds were about to change again. Bye, Calvi. See you again in a few years' time, maybe.
We've loved our stay,
And on to the next exciting adventure.
which is
Ile Russe and the desert of the Agriates.
sounds exotic.
Yeah, rocky deserts and lovely beaches we've been led to believe. So let's see what happens. So this is the bay of Parajola, and it was nice to get to a quiet, isolated bay with very few boats or other people around. The anchor goes down in crystal clear water, about 5 meters this time. We reverse back on the anchor to dig it in. And we have good holding in sand, and here it is, buried deep and very satisfactorily. The loop of loose chain is because the bridle is holding the boat onto the chain rather than having the anchor take all the forces directly onto the roller and rattle all night.
As you can see, the day was a little overcast, but it didn't stop us from seeing the crystal clear waters and the spectacular scenery.
The Queen!
Madam, a private beach just for you.
Oh, how wonderful. So would you call this a calanque?
Don't know, honey.
It's a very little one,
Very
isn't
little
it?
calanque.
Surrounded by such spectacular scenery, you can't help but feel awestruck.
We are in Corsica, somewhere.
One of the
Beach-
beautiful bays.
Parajola, I think it's called. And the J is sometimes changed into an I depending on where you look at the map. But anyway, this is the northeast top end of Corsica, between Calvi and San Florent, to be specific.
And there's a beautiful expedition Barefoot right there.
We get home again and set off down the coast using the little wind that we have available. The wind is under 10 knots and we're using the Genoa and mainsail, checking the telltales to make as much speed as we can possibly do. Sailing along in about 6 to 8 knots of wind, we make use of the wind, and it's nice to be able to void using the engines. We pass the desert called the Agriates, where there's only a very little scrub and no trees. We dropped the pick at a beach called Silesia, which has pristine white beaches and more crystal clear water. This is a very popular spot and there are lots of boats and is a must-see because it is one of the top beaches in Corsica.
This is the kind of place you want to be at. When you drop the anchor, I could actually see it going down for a really long while. It was pretty cool.
It's pretty stunning.
No, it's
We went diving around rocky points and came across lots of jellyfish and stingrays.
2, 3, au revoir.
We have truly enjoyed our time here at the Silesia beach and the Agriates desert, but as a new day begins, so does our journey to our next destination. So it's time for a pre-sail team meeting.
To Massanangio.
It's
So-
30 miles to get to the next port.
This is around the top.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
It's 30 miles.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's too far. Or
Yeah.
are you?
Just, it's a while. It's a third of our night, Morase.
Yeah, but it's a day sail still. It's a nice easy day sail.
right?
And if we have wind, if we have wind and we're doing 7 or 8 knots, it's only 4 hours. So it should. That's why I was wanting to go when there was still wind, and if we catch the tail end of the Mistral as it's fading away, then we'll have wind. But after the Mistral, the wind just dies again. So I want to get the easterly wind while we can, and westerly wind while we can, to get up around the top end.
Over or out? Which one is it?
Over and out.
No, it's not over and out.
Over means you never say over and out. That's totally against
That's a
protocol.
That's why they put that in the movie.
Because it sounds so cool. Oh, over and out. Over means I'm handing over the talking to you, and I'm putting my finger off the talking thing because only one person can talk at a time. So over means I'm finished talking, over to you. Out means we're closing down and we're not talking anymore.
Okay.
So it's either over or it's out, but it's never over and out
Okay, we'll
at
do
the
out.
same time.
I'm out, Girl Scout.
And you've heard it here.
So when you finish the conversation, you normally would say, standing by on channel 16, out. So if people want to call you back, they know you're going to be on channel 16. Or you might say, standing by on channel 72 and 16. If you've got dual watch, if you're watching 2 channels, you can do both. So that's how you should end a conversation, not over and out.
So never say over and out, Captain.
It just reflects badly on your seamanship. So here we are, lifting the anchor and heading to San Florent and then around the top end of Corsica. So join us as we catch the tail end of that Mistral and unfortunately catch more of the tail than we really wanted. So that'll be exciting stuff and don't miss it.
Lay your head down. Sapphire faded dreams. I hope you catch your dreams. Just go ahead, lay your head down.
If you have liked this episode, hit the like button, subscribe for free, and ding the dong so you don't miss your fix of the next exciting episode. Love and health from the Barefoot Doctors.